Hi, Chuck and Mara.
Hey, Danny.
Hey, Danny.
I just realized that I got to go back downstairs to put the PowerPoint on the flash drive and bring it up. Um, I forgot to bring that up. So I'm going to run downstairs, but...
Hey, Danny, if you
Yep.
want to, you could actually well, I guess you could log in from my computer and then just do it off my computer.
That's true. Yeah, I guess I'll run down and... So the Zoom would just come up regular on your computer?
Yeah, you would just need to log yourself in. So just log into my computer, just like I think is you.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe it's more trouble than it's worth. I would think you could log into my computer.
Yeah, I'll just go put it on a disk real quick. It should be still up, so it'll just take a minute. Looks like nobody's joined yet.
Nope, nobody has. Danny, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
So what's weird is, and maybe it just did it for a brief moment, when I have it connected to my car,
Uh-huh.
and so it's going through my car audio, but when I have it muted on my dashboard, it showed me, like right now it shows me as muted on my dashboard, but not muted on Zoom. So it's a little weird. I think it's also in some sort of mode of trying to say you're not supposed to drive in Zoom, which I'm not driving, but I'm in my car.
Gotcha. That is, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. And it won't show the screen, it just shows it as a Zoom meeting on my car dashboard.
Okay, so it looks like the applicants have joined, and but we are still waiting for our other board members to join, and we will start as soon as our 5 board members arrive.
Did you get 5 tonight, Danny?
We do have 5.
Great.
Here's Randy.
Good work.
Randy's joining. Hi, Randy.
You're muted, Randy, but it's all right.
Mara, one thing I just thought about, how well can you see the screen? Would you feel comfortable presenting just with the screen shared on through my desktop?
I think I could. The only thing that would be weird is if at 7:30, if we are not done, I can't stay in my car where I am. They're going to be locking the gates. So I will have to physically leave, which means I'm driving. So, I mean, I could start presenting. And then if I have to go, I guess it just depends on how quickly we can get through.
Sure.
But right now I'm fine from now until 7:30. But once I hit 7:30, I do need to drive my car.
Okay. And here is Maren. Hey, Maren. Can you hear us?
Hi, yep, I sure can.
Okay,
How are you?
great. Doing good. Looks like we're waiting for a couple more of our board members to join.
Okay. Danny, I've been meaning to ask you this. Are you related to a Megan Gendusa?
Yeah, she's my sister.
Okay. I work for a nonprofit that gets CSF funding.
Oh, okay.
That's who she works for, yeah?
She works for a county health department,
Okay.
I
I get
believe.
emails from her occasionally, and I'm like, this
Right.
cannot be a coincidence. They must be related.
Right. Well, actually, you know what she does? She works for the Children's Service.
Children's Service Fund. Yep.
Right, not the
CSF,
health
yeah.
department. Yeah. Cool.
Oh, yeah. Small world.
All right. Looks like we have Tom, Scott, Randy, and we're still waiting for Debbie.
Yeah, I think I'm squared away. Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, all right.
Mara is on here remotely, and we were just, Mara may be presenting remotely, or I may be presenting. We'll maybe figure it out on the fly.
Danny, I just tried to disconnect from my car.
Uh-huh.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I think the only thing I tried disconnecting so that maybe I could do the video,
Uh-huh.
but I don't know if I can. Wait a minute. Okay,
You can see
so I know I have to be sworn in if I am gonna do it, so I will need to be seen.
Gotcha. Hmm. Scott, we can't hear you.
Was I supposed to have a package?
No, I did not send out packets today because there weren't any detailed building plans or anything.
That's all right. You got the cheat sheet for me, or I can probably wing it, but
So the procedures,
Yeah. I think I can do it.
okay, sorry about
For
that.
6 years, I better be able to figure it out.
Well, I don't see Debbie. I guess we're just a couple minutes behind right now. But we'll wait a little longer. I'll share the screen. Mark, can you see the screen clearly enough to go off of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Of course, I say that. I've got my reader glasses on and my phone is pretty small, but I think I can do it. Oh, I can Zoom.
Debbie's the vice chair. She might need help reading the powers and relative to what we're reviewing. You know what I mean, Danny?
Yes. The powers would be it's
On
just
the PowerPoint.
Yeah, it's just a shorter section for appeals
Okay.
today.
All right.
We do have one other participant that's a call-in listener. I'm not sure if that's Debbie. I don't
Danny,
know.
you can go ahead and unmute them and see
Okay.
if it might be Debbie calling in.
Okay. Caller, is this Debbie Solberg? Are you on the line? Hello?
Muted.
Caller from 573. Is this Debbie Solberg? Nope. Well,
Hey, Danny,
uh-huh.
I think
That,
I have Debbie's email. I thought I might have her phone number on here, but I don't.
that number comes up as listed to Sylvia, Edgar, and Joseph Pangolin.
Oh, okay. It must just be listening through their phone audio. Well, I could bring them over to see if they are willing to move forward with 4 board members. Should I go ahead and do that, Chuck?
You might as well see what they're willing to do. And if not, we can hold for another period of time that the chair wants to hold it. It's up to them. But if they want to go with 4, we can start now.
Okay, I'm gonna bring them over. If you wanna ask them if they'd like to move forward. Sylvia and Joseph, can you hear us?
Yes, thanks.
Yes, thank you.
I guess, so we only have 4 of our 5 board members, which technically is our quorum, but you would need to have all 4 of the panelists tonight vote in favor. So you would have the option to postpone if you'd like until next month if our 5th member doesn't join. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add, Chuck.
Under our procedures, you need 4 positive votes to overturn a decision of a director of Webster Groves. The board consists of 5 people, so you would need 4 of the 5 folks to vote in favor of your appeal. You can elect to waive that and proceed with just the 4 people that are currently on the board and are present at this meeting, but then you would need unanimity of those 4 folks to vote in your favor. It is your option, since the city does not have, you're entitled to the 5-member votes of 5 members to hear your appeal. So if you wish to proceed, if not, we can put it off to the next month. We only meet once a month, and your hearing would not be heard until the 2nd Thursday of the month, if you wish to proceed then.
Perhaps we should wait another 5 minutes and see if the additional board member arrives.
Sure.
Would that?
Yeah,
We're all waiting to do that. We just
Yeah.
want to know how you want to proceed.
Yeah, we were muted earlier and I tried to call in just so that we could talk. And so that was, I think, what the confusion was. Thank you.
Sure, we can definitely do that. I will also go run downstairs to my office and see if I can find Debbie's phone number and give her a call.
Thanks, Danny. Appreciate that.
Sure.
I believe I see Debbie on, which Danny wouldn't know that since he's not at the computer any longer.
Right. Is that Mara? I think you're right. I see her added. I don't know if she has the microphone access though.
When Danny gets back, he might be able to help. Oh, she's connecting to audio now. Oh, and then she just left. She might be having connection problems.
So can you hear me? Debbie is trying to log on.
Yeah.
She had to reboot her computer, but she's trying to get on.
Looks like we have everybody.
I am so sorry I'm late.
All right.
Glad you're here. Sylvia and Joseph, I'm actually going to move you over as non-panelist for right now while we go through the staff presentation, but we'll bring you back in a bit. I can figure out how to do this. Okay, we're ready to go when you are, Scott.
All right, we will call to order the December 10th, 2020 meeting of the Webster Groves Board of Adjustment. Debbie, I think you need to call the roll.
Okay. Scott Nixon,
Here.
Randy Sprague,
Here.
Maren Mellon,
Here.
Thomas Waltz,
Here,
and Debbie Sahlberg.
Okay. And then, so the next, go through the procedure, which I assume they can hear, even though they're not in the room with us.
Correct.
The city will present its case. Then anyone supporting the appeal will be able to present their case. Anyone else in favor, anyone opposed. And then we will close the meeting for the board to discuss. You can remain to listen. It's not publicly closed, but it's closed for further input. The board will discuss. You'll have your decision tonight. It takes 4 out of 5 board members to approve. And I think that's it. Ms. Sahlberg, can you please read the powers relative to the business in front of us, which is an appeal?
Powers relative to errors. To hear and decide appeals where it is alleged, that there is an error in any order, requirement, decision, or determination made by the Director of Planning and Development in the enforcement of this code.
Okay, the city would like to present. Oh, I'm sorry, we need to read this. We need to introduce the appeal.
A petition submitted by Sylvia Edgar and, docket number 2340, an appeal submitted by Sylvia Edgar and Joseph Pangelinan for an application for appeal. The application has petitioned to appeal the determination of the Director of Planning and Development under section 111.1 of the 2015 edition of the International Property Maintenance Code as amended in chapter 30 of the Municipal Code of Webster Groves and under section 53.330 of the Municipal Code of Webster Groves. The appellant alleges that the city staff incorrectly enforced the provisions of section 30.302.3 and 30.106.6 in the removal of tree and bush branches encroaching into and obstructing the public right-of-way. The property is located at 1143 Culver Hill Drive within the A4 7,500 square foot residence district.
Okay, city, please present your case.
Yes, we would present, first of all, a testimony in conjunction with some exhibits that have been previously filed with the board. And we would present the live testimony of Mara Perry, if she would be sworn, please.
Chuck, do you want to, do you have the exhibit list to read in?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Do you have the exhibit list to read into the record?
I do. Do you want that all in there? I was going to go through that with what's easier for the board. I can do it either way.
I think if you could read them, just read them into the record and then
That's fine.
go into the questions.
So that we're all on the same page, if I may, the city intends to present a total of 9 exhibits numbered 1 through 9 that should be in the Board of Adjustment packet. Exhibit 1 is just a public hearing notice that was posted on the subject property on December the 4th. Exhibit 2 is the application of appeal, which consists of the application, the applicant's written statement, a determination letter from the Director of Planning and Development dated September the 9th, 2020, the ordinance violation sent by code enforcement to the property owner on August 4th, 2020. Photos of the violation conditions dated August the 14th, 2020. Invoice for the work completed that was by Allen Outdoor Solutions to the city of Webster Groves. That's dated August 19th. There would be a request for a payment notification sent by the city to the applicant, to the appellant on August the 24th, and a real property report on the subject property. It's all part of Exhibit 2. Exhibit 3 is the St. Louis County property tax records and aerial photograph of the subject property. That was prepared by city staff on December the 3rd of this year. Exhibit 4 will be the area photograph of the subject property from the city's GIS map. And that was accessed the same day, being December the 3rd, 2020. Exhibit 5 would be sections of the municipal code of Webster Groves relevant to the request. In that code, you will find section 106.6 of the International Property Maintenance Code. You will also find section 111.1 of the International Property Maintenance Code as amended. You will also find section 302.3 of the International Property Maintenance Code as amended, and section 53.3 of the zoning code of Webster. Exhibit 6 is the public hearing notice, proof, and affidavit of publication published in the Webster Kirkwood Times on December the 4th of this year. Exhibit 7 will be this letter to the applicant from the city staff providing notification of the public hearing date that was set on December the 3rd of this year. Exhibit 8 is the city staff's PowerPoint presentation before the Board of Adjustment, which you are viewing at the present time. Exhibit 9, of course, is the municipal code of the city of Webster Groves. Those would be the exhibits that have been previously filed, and we would ask the board to admit them into evidence upon their identification here tonight. Are we prepared to proceed with our live testimony?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
Mara, do you want me to go over the basics, or?
I think I'm going to have you do it as it,
Okay.
I apologize to the board. I was unexpectedly having to be out of the office, and in 10 minutes, I will no longer be able to physically be on. I'm going to continue to listen, but I can't drive while this is on. So Danny does have all the testimony and information. I will be available for additional questions and could be sworn in if that is needed.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, may I suggest, since we're going to bifurcate the testimony to supplement Ms. Perry's, could we have Danny and Ms. Perry both sworn in at the same time?
Sure. Danny and Ms. Perry, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Yes.
I do.
I think you've stated your names clearly, but that is Danny Gendusa and Mara Perry.
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay, and I'm going to direct my questioning to Ms. Perry as necessary. I will supplement that with examination of Mr. Gendusa as necessary. First of all,
Actually, I think we're going to do the reverse. Danny
Okay.
is there and is going to be able to start with the testimony, and then I'll be available if there's additional questions.
that's fine. Okay,
Okay.
I'm going to direct these questions then to Danny. You're at the top of my screen, so you get to go first. Okay, would you state your name for the record, please?
It is Danny Gendusa.
And are you employed by the city of Webster Groves?
Yes,
And in what capacity do you serve the city?
as planner.
And Mara Perry is also on with us. What is her, in what capacity does she serve the city of Webster Groves?
Mara Perry is the Director of Planning and Development.
As to your duties, both your duties, what are your duties in your positions with Webster?
To administer and execute zoning regulations.
And through your work, are you familiar with the property that is the subject of this hearing tonight at 1143 Culver Hill Drive?
Yes, I am.
And that is within the city of Webster Groves, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
In what zoning district within the city is the property located, please?
It's in the A4 7,500 square foot residence district.
And what is the applicant's request?
The applicant has petitioned to appeal the determination of the Director of Planning and Development under section 111.1 of the 2015 International Property Maintenance Code, as amended in chapter 30 of the Municipal Code of Webster Groves, as well as under section 53.330 of the Municipal Code of Webster Groves in the zoning code. The appellant alleges that city staff incorrectly enforced the provisions of sections 30.3023 and 30.1066 in the removal of tree and bush branches encroaching into and obstructing the public right of way.
As to this hearing tonight, sir, what municipal code sections apply to this request?
So the code sections defining how code enforcement officers are to have a code violation corrected after the expiration date of a notice of violation is in section 106.6 of the 2015 International Property Maintenance Code. It states that after the expiration date of a notice of violation, if the violation is not corrected, the code official shall have the violation corrected as necessary to ensure the public health, safety, and welfare, keeping an accurate record of the expense of all labor and material used in such violation correction as to each lot, building, or structure, and shall issue a bill to the property owners for the expense plus administrative fee of $40. The applicant alleges that the provisions of the code regarding the enforcement of this code section were incorrectly applied.
Okay, and would you now walk the Board of Adjustment through the actual timeline of the violation and the abatement of this violation, please?
Yes, I will do my best. So this is a image of the real property report of the subject property. The area that was the subject of the violation notice was some shrubs and branches hanging over into the city right of way, into the street in the southeast corner of the property. This is a corner property located at Hampshire Court and Culver Hill Drive. So the area where the violation, initial violation was located was in the corner of the property. The city code states in the property maintenance code in section 3023 that all trees, bushes, or vegetation shall be properly trimmed to avoid obstruction of the view and movement of vehicles and pedestrians, and to keep branches from coming into contact with any structure. The code section further states in the right-of-way maintenance section that owners and occupants shall be responsible for the repair and maintenance of certain facilities within the public right-of-way adjacent to their property. Those facilities include, but are not limited to, the sidewalk, tree lawn, driveway approach, and obstructions related thereto. One of our city code enforcement officers observed tree branches and shrubbery hanging over into the right of way, presenting an obstacle and an obstruction, site obstruction for vehicles. So on August 4th, they mailed the property owners a violation notice. The violation notice states that the city of Webster Groves allows 10 days to correct the violation, which would be trimming the branches back. On or about August 14th, 10 days later, the property will be rechecked. The inspector would go back out. If at that point the violation was not corrected, a summons to appear in Webster Groves Municipal Court would be issued, and the city would take action to have the violation abated and cause a charge fees for addressing that work, for having that work done. So using that calendar, the deadlines posted on the violation notice, 10 days from August 4th, was found to be Friday, August 14th. In that time, the applicant had written in their letter that there was a significant storm and power outages during that time. From our memory, it does look like there was some rain during that week, but nothing notable beyond perhaps some storms on Monday. But between Monday and the deadline, it seems like it had been a relatively clear week. On August 14th, on Friday, the code enforcement officer went back out to the site as identified on the initial violation notice. The branches were still hanging into the street. presenting an site obstruction for vehicles. On the slide above is, representation of the vehicle lane of traffic on that road, and the blockage presented by the branches. The code enforcement officer observed that cars were having to, swerve out of their way into the other lane of traffic, and presenting some safety issues. So on August 14th, observing that the obstruction was still there, that the violation was still there, oh, and I'm sorry, here's an image from an earlier year just showing the absence of that obstruction and how the branches had created a visibility issue. Sorry, I'm going to go back. Also on that initial violation notice, the code enforcement officer had put their information there, their contact information for the property owner to be able to follow up with them if they had any questions. Our code enforcement officer did not receive any phone calls or did not receive any voicemails, at least from the applicant. The code enforcement officer is typically throughout the day, in the field doing inspections, but did not receive any voicemails or requests for contact from the applicant. The applicant stated in their letter that they had, made multiple contacts and attempts to contact after the deadline of the 14th had passed, but had been unable to get a hold of our building commissioner. However, our building commissioner's contact information is readily available on the city's website, as well as all other employees within our department who could have also provided assistance and information, but no employee in our department received a voicemail or contact prior to the August 14th deadline. So having seen the obstruction still on August 14th, the code enforcement officer, as deemed appropriate in the code section, bid out services to Allen Outdoor Solutions to trim back the tree branches, received the fee for payment on August 19th, 2020, and sent the property owner a bill for the services as well as a $40 administrative fee on August 24th. The applicant requested follow-up contact from the Director of Planning and Development. The director submitted their determination letter that affirmed that the code enforcement officer had followed proper procedures, and that the code violations were valid, and offered, made notice that the appeal time was 30 days from that date, and granted an extension due to some personal family circumstances of the applicant. But that is about all that I have to present. Is there any questions I could answer, or maybe Mara could also step in?
We had no contact from the 10 days, the 4th through the 13th, to the city, correct?
Correct.
Can you put up this calendar date and let's look at this and let's count these days. You got 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days is the 13th. That's what I get. Does anybody else get that?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there any other questions that I could answer?
What day was the tree trimming actually conducted? What
On
date?
August 14th.
Thank you.
August 14th, on the 14th, or was that when the inspector determined that it had not been trimmed?
Both. The inspector saw it and had the work completed that on that date as well. It was on a Friday. Had the deadline was to have it done on a Friday, and the inspector had the work done on that 10th date, partly because the weekend was coming up and the issue was a public safety matter to present any vehicle accidents or incidents over the weekend.
Is this an owner occupant? This is not a landlord that lives elsewhere?
Correct. This is an owner.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no other questions of our witnesses or regarding the exhibits, the city would have nothing further to present, but would move the admission into evidence of all exhibits, all correspondence, and all charts that have been referred to in the testimony.
I got real quick before we switch over. One quick question: were the residents warned during this process, or is that built in, or how are they notified? Maybe.
So the violation notice seen here was sent to them via mail on August 4th.
And that was the only communication with them, right?
Correct. And that is our standard procedure for
Okay.
violations like this, to send the notice in the mail.
Had there been any other issues? I mean, I'm familiar with this corner because this is not my neighborhood, but it's very close. And you know, there's quite a bit of plant material in this particular yard. You know, it's not just turf grass. Had there been problems in the past? I'm just curious, Danny, if you're aware of any?
I am not aware. I did not check the record to know. I do know that there hadn't been one, a work order or a visit in the recent past. I don't know in prior years if there had been any.
Is there some damage to the curb there? Because I was by this afternoon and it didn't look, you know, just a little to the right of those, you know, like about the drainage area. Looked like there was some sort of damage in that general area.
I do not know.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't see any damage.
Now the city would have nothing further to present, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I think we're done. Don't go anywhere, guys.
Okay. Should I bring the applicant over?
Please.
Okay.
Thank you. Are you all ready for us to proceed?
Yes, please state your name.
Sure. My name is Sylvia Edgar.
Sylvia Edgar, do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, and I see Joseph there. If do you want to get, I'll go ahead and swear you in, Joseph, and so we can save that part for later. Please state your name.
Joseph Pangilinan.
Mr. Pangilinan, do you solemnly swear the testimony you are about to give, if any, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'd like to start with thanking you all for being here tonight. I understand that the majority of the board are volunteers, and I certainly recognize that it takes a village to run a city. So I want to thank you for taking your time on this Thursday night in December to hear this, and as well as the city staff that's been involved with this since August. I'd like to point out in much the way that Mr. Billings did that we presented some information for your review as well, and want to first begin and make sure that you all have received it. I submitted a copy of the ordinance violation as well, and a copy of a letter that I had sent to Ms. Perry that tracks some of the correspondence that we've had. Is that information or material that you've had an opportunity to review?
We have a letter from you from November 9th, and I think that's it. Is that right?
We submit, I just want to be clear, we had submitted a packet of information per the request of the city, you know, to proceed and to participate in the hearing. And so that was delivered to the city probably in October or November prior to this being scheduled. So I just wanted to be sure that.
What else was in the packet?
we'd provided a copy of the violation, which was already presented
Okay,
in
right.
evidence, which is the same that you all have. The letter that I sent to Ms. Perry. And I think that I also maybe had included as a duplicate the letter that she sent us. So I think you all have it covered. And
Yeah.
the pictures that Mr. Billings presented and, that Danny went through I've seen for the first time tonight. I'll share with that with you as well. So I think from our perspective, we have really a somewhat simple request or simple notice, simple issue that we wanted to point out to you all. And I guess the first thing I'll do is remind you all or invite you all to go back to the Code of Webster Groves, specifically 30.106.6. The violation not corrected, removal by city, special tax bill. After the expiration of the notice of violation, if the violation is not corrected, the building commissioner shall have violation corrected as necessary to ensure public health, safety, and welfare. And you all nicely presented the calendar. And I'm not disputing that the notice was mailed on the 4th, but I want to be clear and explain a little bit from our perspective. We didn't receive it until that following week. And so we were not on notice that there was an issue. We both work full time. I came home early that Friday, the 10th day after the 4th, to take care of it. And I was really surprised when I got home that this work had been done. And my contention is fairly simple, that 10 days past the 4th is the 14th. And having it done before the end of the day on the 14th was really a surprise to me. And I have certainly heard the mathematical evaluation that you all have done, but my position is pretty simple, that 10 days after the 4th is the 14th. And we were really expecting that this wouldn't be a big deal, that we'd have the opportunity to complete it by the end of that day. Like I said, or appeal, as was stated in the violation that was sent to us. And if you all want to look at that as well, underneath the red writing of the description, the first sentence, the city of Webster Groves allows 10 days to correct the violation. On or about the 14th, the property will be rechecked. If it's not corrected, a summons to appear in municipal court will be issued. So from our perspective, I think, and it's a reasonable perspective, we were anticipating that we would have until the end of that 10th day, the 14th, to complete this or to file the appeal. And I want to clarify as well too, I did call multiple phone numbers at approximately 3:30 on that Friday afternoon and attempted to make contact with folks, and unfortunately didn't receive any answers from those. I then emailed multiple people, including Ms. Beck, and got a response back from her Friday night saying, no worries, this is going to be taken care of. We'll be in touch with you. And so initially, I really felt like this was going to be responded to kind of quickly and efficiently, and I certainly wouldn't end up having a conversation with you on a Thursday night in December. Part of what my conversation was with Travis Ham, who was the first person from the city that called me that Monday morning, the 17th, I just pointed out to him at that time, I couldn't locate the building commissioner information on the webpage. And when I pointed that out to him, he conceded and he said, yeah, you're right. And I just said, from a citizen perspective, if one of my options is to file an appeal by the 10th day, and then, I come home, either fix it or appeal it, and it's already been done, then clearly, I've kind of I don't have any options anymore. And so I suggested, just from a citizen perspective, that be updated. And I didn't do a screenshot of it at the time, so I can't go back and show that to you. And I'm glad to see that now the building commissioner is listed and their contact information is available for folks. But at the time when this happened, it was not. And as I said, I shared that with Travis Ham, who is the contact person at the city that I initially worked with. I think I want to also address a couple of other questions that came up as the board was reviewing the evidence that was presented by Mr. Billings. One thing that board member Salberg recommended or asked was about previous problems. I want to clarify, Danny, I don't know if you're new or not. We have not had any issues. We have not had any prior violations. We bought this house 2 years ago. So if there were issues prior to that, that would have been with a previous property owner. And I also wanted to follow up on the question about damage to the curb. It looks like the photograph that was showed as an example was from 2011, so almost a decade ago. And in fact, there has been work that's been done really in probably the last 2 weeks or so by Missouri American Water. That's from 2011. I'm assuming that that's accurate, but I don't know. I didn't take the picture. So just recently in the last 2 weeks, Missouri American Water was here and did a real extensive job of digging to fix a valve that was broken at the corner within the right of way of our yard. So I just wanted to provide that clarifying information for your benefit. I'd also like to take a chance to invite, if there's any questions that we can answer, we'd be happy to do so.
Thank you for clearing up the way the curb looks now, because like I said, this afternoon at 4:30, it didn't look quite right. Okay.
Right. Yes, you're exactly
nothing
right.
Nothing to do with your plant materials, nothing to do with the
Right.
trimming. It was a completely separate project. Thank you so much.
Yes, you bet. Thank you.
Sylvia, I just want to state this board, I've been on it for 6 years. I've never seen one like this. So we're not perfectly set up for this type of appeal. But we will grant you to do our best to try and give an honest rendering of our opinion of the situation. So I did want to just get that out there.
I appreciate that too, because I look back at the minutes for the year and noticed that there hadn't been anything similar even in 2020. So I wasn't sure historically whether that was representative or not. So understood. And I guess that's part of our position as well too, is that I think this was kind of an anomaly. And from a citizen perspective, you know, we're really just, we've asked for, and we would really hope that there would be a sort of a spirit of cooperation and an interest in resolving something at a lower level rather than, you know, having to engage with you all at this time to resolve this.
So can I ask you, what would be your remedy for this situation?
So my remedy, and I wrote it in the letter, but I'm happy to share it as well too, is that so we paid $100 to file this appeal to have your attention tonight. And we'd like that to be refunded. I would request that the $287.50 charge for cutting the branches would be overruled, and that the $40 administrative fee that was attached to the process would be removed as well.
Thank you. I just kind of want to get that into the record.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
No problem.
On what date did you receive the notice from the city?
We didn't receive it until the week of that following week. So if I know that the calendar has been putting back up and forth, I believe it was mailed on the 4th, which was a Monday or Tuesday of the following week. And then we received it that Monday or Tuesday of the following week. So the Monday.
You're saying, like, Danny, can you pop back to that calendar?
Yeah.
I'm not sure, like, when you say following of what I thought, do you think like you received it on approximately the 10th, or are you saying you received it approximately the 17th?
No, was the 10th or the 11th. Thanks for clarifying.
And you said you were planning on having a remedy that on Friday?
Right. So I came home from work early. You know, my husband and I both work full time and had come home early from work and really expected it not to be that big of a project. I was really surprised to see that it costs $287 for 3 men to work for an hour and 45 minutes to cut some branches. You all saw the picture. It was some trees and some branches, I admit that, but we had planned to do it ourselves.
Okay. And you're not disputing the fact, I mean, I'm looking at the picture. Those trees are in the roadway. You're not disputing that, are you?
You're right. You're correct. We're not.
We're not disputing.
They're definitely in the roadway. Okay.
We used to have our occasionally we have our truck parked out front. So, you know, the tree just grew, and we didn't really ever pay close attention to it until we had moved the truck over to the other side, and, you know, that was pointed out to us. So otherwise, you know, we have a red truck that's usually parked right there, right about where the branches are.
My question is, it definitely appears the branches were obstructing the roadway. And they don't appear to be great big branches. Did it ever occur to you to go out and try to at least remedy this in part on your own?
That was our plan, to do that Friday afternoon. Like I said, we received the letter the beginning of the week. We both. worked
Well, my
full-time.
question to you is this. Before the 4th of August, did it occur to you that maybe we should go out and at least whack off a few of these branches to make visibility better on the street?
You know, we probably didn't pay close attention to it because we had our truck parked, you know, in that area there where the branches are. But clearly, without the truck being there, you know, the branches are visibly in the roadway. So yes, we would have taken care of it.
But the branches had been there for some time. They just weren't there suddenly on the 4th of August. But you're saying because where your truck was parked, you didn't notice this, or?
I think it's important to clarify that I think because of where the truck was parked and with the branches as they were, it was just not something honestly that had really come to our attention. You'll notice that in the picture that was shared with Mr. Billings, the SUV that was on the other side of the road has probably a little bit shorter height than our truck does. And so when a vehicle is parked in that spot, it effectively does the same thing, or actually much more visibility is blocked when a vehicle is legally parked in front of our house. So once this was brought to our attention, as I said, our plan was to remedy it that Friday when I came home from work early to do so.
Yeah, okay. What vehicle are you referring to that was illegally parked?
Legally parked.
Legally parked, okay.
Right, yes. So that's a vehicle that we own, a pickup truck. That is a
And that
Ford,
was
which
in
is,
the street, or where was that parked?
so you'll see the code enforcement officer's Ford SUV on one side of the street. In the other side of the street is where we park our vehicle, which is a Ford truck. And it's a legal parking spot. So my point is that where that across from there is where our truck would often be parked.
On Culver Hill?
Yes. And so I think, I guess what Joe was trying to explain was that I think functionally then when the truck has been parked there like that, the perspective of there being an obstruction is less visible because the truck is in that spot taking up
Okay,
that area.
I follow that, okay.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, is there, Danny, there's no one else in the waiting room to speak?
No, there is not. And if all the questions are taken care of with the applicant, I would move them over as an attendee.
Okay, no other questions? We have no other, we see nor hear any other people to speak in favor or against this appeal. We will close it for the public discussion, and we will talk amongst the board regarding the appeal.
And make a
It looks like they were just about to say something and I cut them off, so I'll bring them back.
Okay, that's fair.
Sorry about that. Sylvia, can you hear us?
Sylvia, we might have cut you off there. Was there something you wanted to add?
Yeah.
You did. Thank you. I appreciate you both for noticing that. And can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. I just wanted to take a moment to do a closing statement, if that's acceptable.
Sure, please.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thanks. As I said earlier, Joe and I are happy residents of Webster Groves. We appreciate your service here tonight, and we just wanted to take the chance to really explain what our position was. I think it's really basically that our expectation was that we would have a couple of options, which would have expired at the end of the day on the 14th. And we're surprised and didn't realize that the perception of that time frame was different than what our reading was of it. I want to take a moment and just reflect on the Webster Groves mission statement. I did a little bit of preparation before this, and I want to share it with you all. That Webster Groves is committed to providing professional, efficient, and responsible services, and to working with citizens to enhance its position as a premier place to live, work, and raise a family in a traditional yet progressive community. We are certainly committed to that mission statement, and I believe the same way you are, and want to be, collaborative and cooperative, and had hoped that this would be taken care of. Like I said, there was certainly no motivation on our part to be difficult or to be out of compliance. And as I said, made arrangements to take off work early to take care of it at the end of that day, Friday, expecting that we were within our 10-day limit that was noted in the violation we received, as well as what is reflected in 30.106.6 of the Code of Webster Groves. And I just also want to say that from an equity perspective, I appreciate that you all haven't had a lot of appeals like this. I think it's kind of it's a daunting process for folks, and want to again thank you for being involved with it, but recognize that part of being a city and part of working with citizens is to be thoughtful about equity. And I recognize there's a new city manager coming in January, and I'm excited about all of the things that we have to look forward to in Webster Groves in 2021. So again, thank you. Joe, is there anything you want to say?
Just thank you all for taking time to have us here be with you tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Danny.
Sure.
Now we will close for public session. Reclose.
Scott, I just wanted to let you know I am no longer driving. So if there were any additional questions, or if you had any other additional questions in regards to some of the statements, that I am available now, and I'm no longer driving in my vehicle.
Okay, I did not. Anybody else? Doesn't look like.
Okay.
Thank you for being safe. Okay. Board discussion.
Okay, I'll start off and maybe go back here. I'm looking at a calendar on my phone. So the city's saying these folks had the 4th of August, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. Those are the 10 days, right?
Those are the 10 days.
I think the 10 days started on the 5th.
Starts on the 5th, yeah.
Okay, it starts on the 10 days start on the 5th.
Well, that's the question.
It ends on the 14th. So the question in my mind is the 14th, a day that the resident should have been given the whole day to complete the job, where it seems like on the 14th, the Webster Groves people came in and trimmed the trees.
Danny, can we see the ordinance that applies here with the day, like the exact?
Sure. The ordinance violation or the ordinance?
The actual ordinance.
Okay.
Yeah, like how long?
That's what I'd like to see, at least to start, please.
Yeah.
Danny, I think you're going to have a problem. So the 10 days is a policy of the city. We're not required to give a specific set amount of time.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
No, there's different timeframes for the various violations. So if it's something very short, if it's cutting grass, if it's trimming trees, if it's doing other items, we have as a policy set it at 10 days. Sometimes if it is an even more serious violation, we set it at 5. If it requires a permit that needs to be pulled, we set it at 30. So it just depends on, so there's nothing in the code that says we have to even give a full 10 days. But the way we write our notices, it gives the 10 days and then gives in the language that on that 10th day, we will inspect. So if Danny puts up the slide with the information that says we will inspect it on that day, which would not mean 5 o'clock because we're no longer working at 5.
Well, that's very interesting. Doesn't that beg the question of, does a 10-day start when you decide it does or when they actually are notified? When does that 10 days start?
There's not a 10-day requirement. That's a courtesy anyway.
Oh, I understand that completely. But if you don't know that it's coming, how in the world can you remedy a situation within 4 or 5 days that you don't even know is coming? I'm sorry, I don't get it.
So as I will tell you that, then the reason why you don't see these as appeals is that if someone gives us a call or leaves a voicemail or an email to Mark and says, hi, we're going to do it on Friday, he will say, sure, would you like an extra week to do your work? Would you like an extra 2 weeks? So when someone contacts us and leaves a message or a voicemail prior to the deadline, we work with anyone who comes and talks and asks for additional, time, as long as it's not a life safety matter. If we don't hear from someone, we proceed, especially if it's something that could be a life safety issue.
And I'm sorry, this was interpreted to be a life safety issue?
Yes, it was, because there were
Really?
cars having to drive out of their lane of traffic at an intersection, which meant that as they drove out of their intersection across to the other lane of traffic, there could be oncoming cars from the other direction. It's a T.
Wouldn't you think you'd want to inform those people that that was the level they were at?
That's what the letter stated. That's
Kind
what the
of.
letter
So there's no notice left at the property when the inspector's out saying these trees need to be trimmed. I mean, it would seem to me that would be a more immediate, you come in and I mean, I'm not saying people wouldn't ignore it, but at least you could, say we left a notice at the door and we mailed them a letter. Because there was a lot of trouble this summer with timely mail. And these letters are not, it's not return receipt requested, Mara, right? It's just regular US first class mail.
It's regular US first class mail, and the applicant has stated she did receive it prior to the deadline. If something had happened and it had been received after the deadline, if we had seen something, we would have immediately, said, I'm sorry, let's work with you on it. We were informed that they just had said that they could not get a hold of us, had said that they tried phone numbers but never left a message, and never emailed us or got in touch with us. We had no idea whether someone was going to comply. And so we proceeded in this manner, and we don't do it very often. We try as best we can to, talk with people. We return phone calls when we receive phone calls. And even if the phone call goes to the wrong department, which I know the letter states there were multiple calls to other departments, Public Works. I looked at some of the phone numbers that were in the letter. They were in other departments. If they went to another department, they would have contacted us. But no messages were forwarded out to us until after the violation had been abated by the city.
So I've heard, the mail was, I remember specifically looking at my wife one day and saying the mail's not working great over the summer. I don't remember when that was. So we have that. We have this 10-day issue. If I get a notice that something's got to be done and there's a way to interpret it, I'm going to go out. There's a way to interpret it that I'm going to have to do it by Thursday. I'm not going to wait till Friday to do it, whether that's what I think or not. I know if somebody gives me 10 business days to respond to something in my business, I usually do it the second I get it. There were some mail problems. Okay, maybe 3 days should have been is typically 6 days. But you heard the applicant say that nobody's disputing that there was a real problem with those trees. The mission statement was read. Well, it cuts both ways. The neighbors have an expectation too of what should be allowed in the neighborhood or the standards that they want to uphold. And
it's a hazard, and there'd been an accident there, the city would then be held accountable if, they hadn't tried to cut it down or tried to enforce the ordinances that allowed them, provide for safety.
So I wish there was a way to split the baby here. Anybody have any,
There's another picture of is there another piece of that like postcard? Because it said like on or about the 14th.
Yeah.
I gotta move you guys.
And what does that mean? Does that mean the 13th? Does that mean the 17th?
That means
on
both.
or about's a little vague.
On or about is to state that we might not make it there on the exact violation day because of the fact that we could get busy. So we state that we will go on. And I guess, again, the language has been about, and we've never had a problem with this language. This is the standard language that's in all of our letters.
It's
but it gives
standard
us,
legal language.
I'm sorry, what?
I say it's standard legal language. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess what I was trying to say is that certainly provides notice that there's no expectation that will be end of business and they're really coming on the 15th. I mean, that is saying we will come on the 14th. We know that is fair game. So I think that is notice to them that, 9 a.m. or whatever that photo said.
Well, I don't want to plead, but standard legal language and what the average individual interprets words are not necessarily the same thing.
Well, on or about, so on the 14th is when they showed up. I don't think that's tricky under any.
No, that's not tricky. It's the or about, but okay.
If they would have showed up on the 13th or the 12th, I think we could, I would agree with you, I think, but on or about.
Yeah. And looking at that, I'm sure the city, I have no problem with the city immediately in their mind, the second they could get out there and fixing that. The question is that the day or not?
The question too is that these folks say they tried to get a hold of the city.
Not until after the deed was done, after the situation.
Yeah, that was after the deed was done. Why didn't they get a hold of them? They still had a couple of days to get hold of the city before. If you see the 14th, that's pretty definite. If nothing else, walk into the city and leave a message if you can't get a hold of somebody.
Well, and Mr. McReynolds' email is right there on the notice in the red box. So, sometimes it's way easier to do email, because you think of it at 9 o'clock at night.
And you have proof then too. That's why I always email.
Right. That's a good point. Or if you don't want proof, you just call. If you just don't want a record.
Would the board be willing to waive our fee for this? There was some dispute. They've made some case.
Yeah.
I'm willing to waive our fee.
If that's within our powers, I don't have a problem with.
No idea.
I think you can do that.
You know what I
You can waive some or all. You can make a modification of that under your powers.
Do you know if the fee did go to the advertising requirements? So the city did pay to advertise in the paper as required by law. And so just throwing that one out there to make sure you understand what that fee requires or is part of.
What's that, $20?
Oh no, the Webster Kirkwood Times is more expensive than that.
Yeah. I'm trying.
I appreciate their argument, and I think, and that's why I was asking about the ordinance, because if there was an actual law that said 10 days or something, but I think here we're talking about it's not codified, and the notice.
I have to chime in here since you brought that up. I wasn't going to say anything. But now you've asked a legal question. I got to give you a legal answer. Danny, would you pull up 106.6, please?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to say this board has the powers of interpreting what your code says. That's clearly within your power, and to vary it. Okay, having said that, your ordinance is peculiarly written because it says they're after the expiration date of the notice of violation. That's very strange, but it's there. It is there. It's part of your order. You can interpret that any way you want, but that says
10 days.
after the expiration date, which would be the
Exactly
14th.
what I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know why that was put in there. But it's there. Since you asked a legal question.
I'm sorry, I don't want to keep talking over you. I think.
But I mean, since you asked a legal question, I have to give you a legal answer. So after the expiration date of the notice of violation, that's really after the 14th. Well, that's how you interpret it. It's how you, I'm not interpreting, that's up to you. I'm just saying that that is how the code is written.
That in here, 1066, I'm trying to read and listen at the same time, and I'm not.
Okay, and now shut up.
No. I'm like, is it, okay. Oh, the very first sentence, geez Louise, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think that's different.
Oh, yeah. I'll be candid with you guys. I think the city this is a draconian response. This is not the corner of Big Bend and Elm. I've driven there. I know where it is. If this was such a horrendous safety hazard, then you need to walk up to their door and tell them that, not send them a letter that comes a week later. I mean, I'm sorry, but I really struggle with the speed at which the city did this. And why wouldn't you just allow them some time to do the job themselves? I'm sorry, I think it's a draconian response.
I guess I tend to agree with Randy that I'm surprised that the work was contracted for and done the very day that the notice expired. You know, and obviously if they worked for an hour and a half, it was before, you know, mid-afternoon.
I think too, if the residents would have gotten a notice from the city saying that was on or about the 14th, which said, in essence, gave them a warning that this work was going to be done the following week or on Monday or Tuesday even. But I guess I would feel more comfortable if there was a intermediary communication in there.
Would agree.
Now I say that's probably just my background on dealing with kids as a principal. You know, I usually say, "Are you sure this is what you think?" You know, and give the guy one more chance. You know, but
the count of 3, right?
that's different from the city. I'm not, but to me, this didn't look like a very good corner, but it's been like that for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I also know that, you know, sometimes it looks pretty innocent and a big problem can happen. So I get the city's point of view there.
I'm not suggesting that this shouldn't have been remedied. Please don't let me suggest that. But I think the city acted very expediently without a lot of communication with these folks.
I bet there was one
To lay
person.
this money on them, I really have an issue with this. I think that's a little bit out of the ordinary.
You know, I'm going to say this about the mail. They say they got the notice roughly a week late, thereabouts, maybe 6 days, 5, 7, I don't know. You know, was the mail slow? It sort of depends on who you ask. I didn't notice my mail was slow, but maybe theirs was. I don't know. So,
well, if you're going to count 10 days,
that's why I wish there would have been something else to follow up, saying we haven't heard from you. We're going to do da 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 or something like that. But yet I want to honor the code.
But if there's a clock that starts when this letter is received, then you send it registered mail. Then you know when it was received. How can you assume that the day you licked the stamp that they got it and it was 10 days later? That's, to me, is incredible. That's not going to happen. But that's what the city would have you believe.
I mean, just to like play devil's advocate to that, I don't think they're saying you have 10 days to remedy it. They're just saying 10 days from today. Like, so maybe that gives you 72 hours to remedy it. Maybe it gives you 24 hours to remedy it. I don't think they're saying you have 10 days from the receipt of notice. But
And there was.
But doesn't
multiple
that
people on
kind of
that-
compromise you if you don't get the receipt of notice for several days after wow. That's a
Yes.
very interesting way to think of things.
I'm
If they
also
got
coming
it on-
back to the wording of the notice where it says on or about 14 days, 10 days from this notice, on about their 14, he will inspect and
Right.
then it will be, but to me, that doesn't say on or about the 14th. If this is not addressed, it will be fixed that day. I mean,
Right. I just have difficulty with the way these folks were notified of this entire process.
I think the city followed their standard procedure. Yeah, the key word in that notice is about. On, or what does about mean?
I don't know.
If it would have said on and that be done with it, if it's not done by the 14th, we're gonna do the work and you'll be charged.
well, the answer to that is because if they come on the 15th and the notice says the 14th and it says on, then that means you've come after and then the city can't do it.
Good counter. Okay, yeah.
Oh,
I don't think they're not at fault here. They let this situation get out of hand. There is some relief I think they may be entitled to. And I'm willing to, let's hear it.
well, let them pay the fees and let the city pay for the removal. The city has people that could remove that brush. They're in front of my house all the time. Let the city take the $280 and say, gee, we should have called our own guys.
Any other thoughts?
Well, what's the city's protocol on that? Do they notify, they have a company the Allen people that did the work? Do they?
The city of Webster itself has removed trees in front of my home.
Yeah.
So would you like us to answer that as a question?
With all due respect, folks, you've kind of closed the testimony portion of this program. You can reopen it and allow both sides an opportunity to present additional evidence if you'd like.
Sure, we need to do that.
I'm sorry, Randy, what? I just didn't hear
I
you.
said, I don't know.
I say you've at this point, it would be
No, we got you.
proper just to have one side do it. Both sides would be able to present additional testimony if you had additional questions.
I don't have any additional questions. Randy, do you?
Nor do I really. I've said what I've said, and I'm fine with that.
So-
Doesn't this come down to us determining in the end whether the city followed their operating procedure or the code or not? Isn't that the question we have to answer?
Yes,
Did the
sir.
city do
That 106 again, please, or whatever.
what the code said to do?
Thank you.
Any of the appeals I've been involved with, that's what it comes down to. Did the city follow their operating procedures or the city ordinance or the code as it's stated?
Right, and that's the application here is the appellant is saying that the city did not follow their own rules, regulations.
Let's back up and see, what did the city do? They gave them a letter. They say the letter got lost. They got it late. And then there's the 14th that's in question. And the city acted promptly in this case on the 14th. Were they out of line? You know, I feel for the applicant, but I don't think the city was.
Except that the
Well,
code
if we could back
says
up and
after the date of the
compromise
notice
a
of
little bit,
violation.
I don't know if we can in something like this. Mr. Lawyer, can we do that? Can we say, think the city followed the procedures, but there was a misunderstanding involved here with the resident?
Yeah,
And we
yes.
waived the fee, or are we in our,
But the code says after the date of expiration. The date of expiration was the 14th. If we agree the date of expiration is the 14th, then after clearly means after. I think then, like, I was in that camp that I thought the city was fine until this was pointed out. Now I feel like.
So Marion, are you saying that in your opinion, the way this reads is it should not have been corrected before the 15th of August?
I mean, I guess that's what I am considering. Yes.
Yeah,
Before-
that's okay. I just wanted to make sure that
prior to-
I was understanding how you were leaning.
Yeah, prior to like the reading of 106.6, I was thinking, based on that little postcard, on or about the 14th, on is on, and they acted on the 14th, and I was fine with that. But looking at this now, which is the actual law, as opposed to like the postcard, which is an interpretation of the law, it's my understanding. After is after.
And that's what I think I'm saying is I felt like it was that they acted too quickly. It didn't allow these people a chance to respond, and they're paying the penalty for a very precipitous move on the part of the city, as I can see it.
Is there any other that, I guess I'm curious if anyone else is like with their reading of this 106.6, if I am misinterpreting it or.
I read it as you do.
I tend to read it as you do too. And to be honest, I sort of read the note that way, that they would inspect on the 14th and then they would correct, but not necessarily that they would correct on the 14th.
I agree.
I'm sorry, Deb, can you repeat that?
I sort of thought that the notice was saying on the 14th, the inspector will come back out and if you have not corrected it, they will correct it. But I didn't get the impression they would correct it on the 14th. I mean, I understand what Mara said, that, city staff doesn't work past 5 o'clock, but still, chances are if the 14th had not been a Friday, there would not have been any tree trimming that went on that Friday afternoon. On the 14th, it would have happened the next day. But I think this was but when I read 106.6, it seems to me that this is not, the written code and the policy are not coinciding in this case.
Scott, any thoughts?
It comes down to this 10-day thing, and I don't know. I see it. There's some gray area here. I'll go back to what I said. I don't think they're without fault.
True.
I agree with Scott, I think, because they got this notice late. We'll take their word on that, but they still got it before the 14th.
There are reasons to grant
before the 14th.
There are reasons to grant relief from a strict interpretation of the code. I do personally remember the mail being screwed up. We had some problems in our business because of COVID. But they're not without fault. So I don't know where we're going to end up on this. The code is not clear. I don't know if we're going to get out of this if we keep talking about what 10 days is.
Yeah.
So,
well, Scott, we were talking about a few minutes back, compromise or, so what is our, do we have I guess I'm referring to our attorney. If we
have room to do whatever we want here, right?
Yes.
Okay, grant whatever relief we can see fit.
Well, I hear us saying, here's what I hear us saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we are willing to grant some relief, but not all of it.
I think that's where I'm at. I know it's not pretty, so I'll propose something. We can waive our fee. There was I understand there were some other costs. It's not clean. We can waive our fee. What else?
So if we waive our fee, what's that, $40?
That's $100 for us. So they don't get punished for asking for relief. Then you have another 387.
Was it 387 or was it 287 plus 40?
327. 327
Oh,
is the bill, the original bill. You know, the city, maybe due to the mailing issue, maybe the city can we will volunteer the city to take out their administrative fee. The men get paid for doing the work that should have been done and was done. That's
How much, Scott, how much was the administrative fee? Is that
$40?
40?
Yes. So now you're down to the 287, which is breaks time, or Allen Outdoor Solutions
Actual work.
for the work. I'm just throwing that out. Anybody else, let's.
Was there another fee in there, or did I see a second fee to the city, or am I mistaken? I'm asking because I'm not sure. I
Just the $100 is the appeal fee, then the $40 is the administrative fee
I'd
contained
refund
within
$100 for the
106.
appeal fee too. I would refund all of the city costs and have them pay for the branch removal.
Okay, I like that. Do I hear a motion? Well, how are we going to do this motion? Let's think about this. Mara, we're going to look to you for wording of this motion.
Me? I might not even vote for it.
Oh, well,
you don't have to vote for it. You just have to tell us how to word it.
Yeah,
you're the attorney. Or Randy, you want to take a shot at it?
Oh God, I don't know how to do it. I'm not sure. Basically, what I would suggest, is that the motion is that we refund to the applicant the fees charged by the city of Webster Groves in the amount of $140. However, they are responsible for the actual removal fees to remedy the situation.
May I suggest we modify that motion just a hair? Just that it is the motion before the board is that the board would waive 106.6, the penalty administrative costs of $40, and the board would waive the appeal of $100. You really can't say I give them back money. You just say I waive the cost, which would then just by default leave you with the 287. So you had it right. You had it right.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. If
That's what I heard you say, sir.
All right.
And this is reference docket item, what was the docket item?
2340.
Yeah. A reference document item 2340. We're doing what's just been stated here.
Are you seconding that, Tom?
I am. Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Marion, did you have comments on this?
Yeah.
Motion?
Not yet. No.
Speak now, because I have motion in a second.
Yeah. Our chairman's going to move here.
Right. This is the time for further discussion.
No, I don't. Sorry, I missed it.
And I'm not trying to cut you short.
I would is it appropriate to suggest to the city that maybe the notice be, I don't want to say revised, but well, and of course I've got Mr. McReynolds' phone number, name, and email inside a box that's circled in red. So, it would seem that if you had a problem with somebody, you would have called or emailed him, as soon as you got the notice and said, so now wait a minute, how long do we have? Could we have a little longer, it's too, it's raining cats and dogs. We just got the notice, something like that.
Maybe we can, maybe that'll be new business or something.
But like I said, the notice is fairly clear. This is who you contact,
Right.
And Mr. McReynolds does not, he's been around for a long time, and I'm sure his email and phone number work.
I agree, but I think Scott's point is extremely well taken. This is a problem that they needed to solve. And
Right.
and so I agree with you that there's ownership of that problem, and yeah, they need to resolve it, but I think the city's process was significantly flawed here. And it's a tough, you want to fix it, I understand, but I don't think we did it very well.
Randy, do you think that the motion gives them enough relief, gives the homeowners enough relief?
I think it gives them the appropriate relief, and particularly in the light of what Mr. Nixon pointed out, which I absolutely agree with. They needed to remedy the situation. They didn't do it. And okay, fine. There are a lot of miscommunications here, but at least I would like to acknowledge on the part of the city that maybe we could have done it better. We'll waive those fees, but guys, you're responsible to take care of this. This is your yard. You have to be responsible. I think it sends the right message.
Okay. I have a motion. And I have a second.
You do.
And we're going to, if we vote, an aye vote is to approve the motion and a nay vote is to deny the motion. Okay.
And the motion is to grant the relief.
As we have stated.
Right.
With reduced.
Waive the administration fee and waive the Board of Adjustment fee.
That is my understanding as well. Okay, we're going to do a voice and we'll take the roll. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, please take the roll, Debbie.
Scott Nixon,
Aye.
Randy Sprague,
Aye.
Maren Mellum,
Aye.
Thomas Waltz,
Aye.
and Debbie Solberg votes aye.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, if I might, one more time, whoever's taking minutes here, I guess that's Danny or Mara, what it would read is that you're really sustaining in part and reversing in part.
Yes.
So you are really sustaining the city's position in terms of what was done pursuant to 106, and you're just reversing the assessment of those extra fees. So that's how it should read.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Ms. Egger, if you're still listening, thank you for your time. And okay, I think, is there any new business before the board?
I have a question for Danny. Do you need any signatures on any of these items we've acted on over the last few months?
I do need signatures. It's gotten away from me and you typically just get the signatures of the next meeting. We haven't met in person. So I have been reaching out to Scott and Tom to get signatures on decision letters, which still needs to be taken care of. I'm going to draft this one tomorrow because it's so complicated. I'll forget if I don't do it tomorrow.
Danny, have you tried to get a hold of me on signatures?
A couple weeks ago, and we had some emails, but nothing since then.
Okay,
Well,
'cause
and Danny, I could get you, I could sign as a, if you need a signature as well.
Okay.
Because I'm working remotely as much as I'm in the office.
Okay.
If you need a signature, I'm willing to run up there at a time agreed upon and
Okay.
give you a signature.
And I am too. I could too.
I will get the letters to you for signatures as soon as possible.
I know we did have a request for the copy of the signed one from last month, one of the ones from last month. So we will make sure to get that taken care of and get that to them for their files. I think the only other new business is I will send you a new schedule for the new year. And I'll make sure that you have all those dates on your calendar. I think, Danny, did we end up figuring out that it worked fine for all the dates? I couldn't remember with Planning Commission, we had to move a bunch.
Yeah.
I don't think we had to move.
I think we're sticking with second Thursdays.
Okay. And then just so you all know, Zach has resigned from the board. I wish we could have a actual get together to say goodbye. And he's done so much for the board. So I know that Katie will be reaching out to our alternates to see if we can get someone to move up to a full member. And then we will go and reach out to get another member to fill the position. He was sad to have to go, but he just has not been able to be available. And he knows this is an important a board, and he wants to make sure that it is adequately covered.
Okay. I might have an idea too, if you need them. That also.
That would be great. I usually, they laugh, but I usually find a lot of board members when I'm at high school events or other events, which are not happening right now. So I have not been able to pick up any random people where I go, oh, hey, we have an opening on. I haven't been able to do any of that, which is sad.
We'll force somebody on here.
Are you missing plan commissioners too, Mara? Not that I don't want it. I just asking.
No, we're fine. We actually had a Mike Butcher, who used to be on your board.
Right.
He was just appointed to Plan Commission, which was good because we had lost all our engineers.
Did he take Ann's place or?
He took Ann's place.
Okay.
Yes. So, and so that was good. I did just lose a member on Historic Preservation Commission that we'll be looking for. I think I'm fine on ARB. So ARB Plan Commission, Board of Adjustment. None of you qualify for any of my tax districts, but I need some people on a couple of my tax districts. But we're looking pretty good, and Katie usually reaches out when we need people.
See, I thought historic preservation, I thought everybody wanted to be on historic preservation. I'm surprised
It's a recent thing, another medical issue where she just can't be available due to a medical issue with her son. So I don't think we've really super advertised that one yet.
Mara, do you know, is there the other alternate to move up?
We
You're breaking up.
We're not hearing anything, Mara.
Yeah.
Difficult.
It's like playing the xylophone.
But I think
Should we adjourn? Do we need to adjourn?
you would vote to adjourn, yes.
Business?
Hey, Danny, when's the next meeting? January what?
Top of my head, I think it's January 12th. It'll be the second Thursday in
It
January.
says January 14th on the schedule, Danny.
Okay.
Yeah, you're living in last year's calendar, Danny. Yeah.
Mara, had you asked whether there was any other alternates that were? One of our other alternates has been pretty active, and he may be available to step up, but I do not know yet.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, if you guys would want to make a motion to adjourn.
Oh,
Happy holidays, and I motion to adjourn.
Second.
yes. Okay.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Good job, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Good evening. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Yes, very
Happy
much.
holidays.
Stay safe.
Enjoy it.